Now what some people misunderstand about that night, about the 15th of Sha'ban, is that they think it's a time where your dua can change the will of Allah. They think that if you make dua on that night, on the 15th of Sha'ban, that you will change what Allah Ta'ala eternally willed for you to have. Say for example, you are poor, you are poverty stricken, you do not have that much money, you do not have that much wealth. They think that if you make dua on that night to have a lot of money and a lot of wealth, that your dua will change the will of Allah. They think that your situation will change because of that dua. A'udhu billah. Now this is something that is not permissible to believe, ya ahbabana. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, Wallahu ghalibun ala amrih, that Allah the Exalted does whatever He wills, and nothing prevents what He eternally willed to happen. And believing that the dua changes the eternal will of Allah entails that you have more power than Allah, and what you will to happen shall happen no matter what. Is this not so? Is this not what it means? Yes, this is what it entails, ya ahbabana. Think about it. When someone says this, that their dua changes the will of Allah, he is saying that Allah Ta'ala, the Exalted, willed for something to happen, and He also willed for something to happen, and His will overcame the power and the will of Allah. So he's saying that he has more power than Allah, and this goes against the foundations and the principles of the religion. And this next dua that I mentioned is popular, but it's not confirmed from the Prophet ﷺ. And like we mentioned earlier, it has negative connotations, it has a bad meaning. They say, "Oh Allah, if you willed for me to be a non-Muslim, then change that so that I die as a Muslim." And they say, "Oh Allah, if you willed for me to be poor and poverty stricken, then change that so that I may become wealthy." Subhanallah. And then they reference and they mention a verse in the Quran. And recognize and understand, brothers and sisters, that I am not discouraging you from making dua on that night. No, of course, make dua. But understand and realize the dua that you are making, that it's correct and it has a proper meaning. And I'll gladly share with you certain phrases and certain du'as and certain supplications that you can mention on that night and that you can benefit from, bi'idhnillah.